Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to 5.8G Alive, a magazine show brought to you by Connections 50 Plus. And I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus. With me, as usual, Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus. Welcome.
And you know, we have another partner in our group. So, Maureen.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I am Maureen Joanne Bowen, and I'm happy to be here this afternoon to share some nuggets with you all, with my two great friends and part of this threesome.
Yeah, awesome threesome.
Awesome threesome. What would I do without you all? I don't know what I was doing prior to this, but that's another story.
Ladies, we are into, I am enjoying this new awesome threesome, and I am enjoying the shows and then the meetups and then the shows and then the meetups. What do you all think about this experiment so far? It's early days yet, but how is it going?
For me, Terry-Ann, I love the idea of meeting up with members of the tribe. We just started, but I found the response has been very good. We got the participation that we were looking for. And out of the meetup, you know, all questions came up, a lot of concerns, open discussion, which gives us the, material to really discuss at the 5.8 year live show. So I believe I like the start. I like how we started, and I look forward to where it's going to be taking us.
And Maureen, how has it been for you joining us and meeting up? And
well, it's a hell of an experience, a good one, I must say. And I too enjoy the meetups because I think it brings so many different perspectives together. What I like about the meetups as well is that people seem to be now relaxing into the whole dynamic, so that you'll find that people are sharing their authentic self. And we having agreements and disagreements, but they are private and confidential. And but they do lend to learning. And this is wonderful. And I hope that more of you will join us in this experience, because you could only learn and benefit, as well as share and help other people to grow and benefit as a result of participating.
Yeah. So what we decided to do today, people, is we three we've been doing the shows, doing the meetups, and this is sort of a reflection day for us, to really think, because there are lots of real issues that are arising. And Maureen, it's good that we have you as a psychologist on board. So we want to go into tribe now, and we want to talk about some of the issues that are affecting all of us. And hopefully from our conversation, we'll be giving everybody some food for thought and more food for the next meetup. So let's go into tribe.
So today the discussion centers on self and on each of us as individuals. They have no right and wrong answer, I must say that. And that we are in different places, even though we are in the same seasons of our lives. it's about decision making, and decision making is always difficult, I believe, because a lot of decision making is hitched to change. And it's also that there's something that I remember my father saying to me, and I have it here. He says that there are no bad decisions when you trust your ability to live with those decisions. Um, and I want to say it again, there are no bad decisions when you trust your ability to live with those decisions. I mean, are we talking about life moving forward as independent uh, entities without the appendages and without the support of our previous existence and labels? Now, one of the things that is striking about this as well is that emotions are storm, and a storm that we feel, and that this storm is necessary in the decision-making process. But it's sometimes some people are stuck in the whirlwind of the storm, and they never really find their way out of it, for whatever reason. So today we will be discussing some of those things, and we will be discussing it as it relates to us have taking a direction as to how we get out of that storm.
Yeah.
And for me, there are three kind of areas that I feel that would lend to this discussion that we're going to have with you and with ourselves. And they center around the kinds, first of all, what are the kinds of decisions that you now have to make, right? And then, are you, in making those decisions, are you one of those people who continue to negotiate with your old self and hope that you can fit your old self into the decision that you have to make, or that you choose to make, or that you know is vital for your existence and your growth moving forward? And finally, whether your current behaviors are in alignment with the new you, with the you that you want to be, with the you that you know you ought to become to be happy in this third act. So I think that that gives us a kind of framework in which we could start to entertain the discussion. And more importantly, I think in our discussions, while we will take a general look at it, sometimes doing some introspection and sharing from that space could certainly guide other people who may be, as Terry, I like to say, the coward, they don't want to face it, they don't want to get in there. And Jennifer and I, of course, we are the protagonists in this. We said, no, they're not coward. They may be a little timid. They're coming along. Terrence are not carrying anybody. No, 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 no. Come on, get with the program. So you have that balance here in this awesome threesome. Please don't find yourself at the left side of the you're coward. We hope that you will use this as the vehicle that will help you to drive yourself and certainly to be able to stand firm coming out of this storm of emotion and really be accountable and responsible for this next era which we are all embarking upon. So that's the framework in which we're going to have this discussion today. And I open the floor to my awesome threesome members to start the discussion.
But should I start? Should I start
Yes,
with my rubber rousing?
please do. Please do. Please do. I think that's a good place to start.
You know, in all of our discussions in Connections 50 Plus, one of the things that Jennifer and I have repeated, and you have also said, this is the third act. This is your third set of 3 decades. Okay? You're going from 50 to 80. If you use it chronologically, it will be birth to 30, 30 to 60, 60 to 90. All right? We overlap with the 50 to 80. And the first decade prepared you for becoming something. You make your mark, your ramage on the second act. And this last decade is really, if you want to be morbid, is your swan song. Or if you want to be realistic, It is where you get to go into the pavilion, sit down, admire, and reflect on what you are leaving behind while you have the opportunity to do stuff that you probably didn't get to do or you wanted to do, or things that please you, or at this stage in life we can check ourselves and we know more of ourselves and we can make decisions about, I really like this, although the last 40 years of my life I behaved in a completely contrary way because I was a parent, I had a job, I had a husband or a wife, or I had a this or I had a that, or I was this committee in the church or whatever it is. And when we look at the third act, look ahead of us. They say when you look to the future, if you live in the future, you live in anxiety. If you live in the past, you live in fear.
Yeah.
Maureen, you use a word decision. It's only grown-ups make decisions. Huh? Little children can make decisions, but it can be very quickly overruled if somebody says, hey, that's a bad decision.
Right.
You're not going to do it. And I think for a lot of us, the reality of having to look forward at a blank slate and say, all right, this is a box of paints or crayons or pens and pencils that I have. And that box would be your experiences, skills, and so on. I have to create something different here because what I've done before is no longer available to me. That, depending on where your mind is, depending on how self-directed you are, that could be a very frightening place. And many people can decide, well, I will not make a decision. I will float along for as long as I could, or I could do what people tell me I should do, or I will do what I think people want me to do. Because if you make a decision to take this road in your life, then you have to be responsible and accountable for that. And that is where I say, for many people, it's easier to be a coward, opt out of that, and just go where the waves drift you. For me, a decision is like second nature. I don't know myself. I consider people around me when I make decisions, but at the end of the day, I hardly ever make a decision that doesn't work for me. I'll probably try to put some things in place to mitigate negative consequences for others. But at this stage in life, I look at your questions. Are you making decisions based on who you are becoming? My mind is very squarely fixed on who I have decided to design that I will become. And it's fundamentally the same person that I was before, not in roles and so on. But this time around, I'm going to do stuff for me. I'm going to do stuff for me, for my happiness, for my design. I've said that before. And I have decided that I will take account, I will take responsibility, and I will jump off the ledge because it's not a slide down a ledge, it's a jump off
It's
a
a
cliff.
ledge.
It's a jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
And I have decided to be bold, to be brave, and move forward. And I believe because of the reason that I think that I can do that is that I don't think I've lived a double or triple life. I don't think I've had a full mask. I think when I'm in different situations, people know I'm in certain roles, but they understand who Terrian is. So it's not that people will look at me and say, but she going mad?
Yeah.
Why is she moving so left now? It will
Yeah.
be that, all right, she's probably a little less tempered. But I am firmly on the side of deciding what I want to become and make decisions in my life about what I do, how I relate to people in my life, how responsible I choose to be for other people's lives. And that's one of the main decisions that I have to make. How much responsibility do I have for other people's lives versus mine? And I've decided I'm going forward bravely and will deal with the consequences as they go. And I'm sure I'll have fun while I'm doing
Hmm. Well, I hope they're ready and prepared
it.
to let you go.
It's my show.
It's your show, yeah, but you have minor players in
Yeah.
the background.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, we are talking about decisions being made on the third act stage. And looking on, I'm seeing in terms of persons around me within the age group, within our cohort, um, I believe a lot of decisions are made or guided by the plans or goals one may have for themselves, you know? Um, so, for instance, if in retirement, someone believe when they leave in a career, they're leaving the workplace, I should say, and they have the plans to, whatever the plans are, they tend to make a decision or guided based on those plans. So, for instance, if the plans involve a certain amount of money or involve certain type of actions, they may make a decision to do whatever it is to get that done. I am not sure if consideration is given to other aspects that could be deterrents. I mean, challenges that they may incur, etc., etc. So I think you go ahead with that decision based on your plans, and at the end of it, some people may realize or may think, "Wow, I made the wrong decision because by making that decision, I ended up without any money. By making that decision, I may be losing friends, or family members may be vexed with me, etc." So, so that's how I see decision making in a general sense, how people make decisions. Um, it could be good or bad, because it will be very good because if you have goals and you really want to attain those goals to make yourself comfortable to retirement, then you may just put on blinkers, and these decisions you made is really to achieve those goals. But I think, Maureen, in terms of quoting your dad, if I may
Yeah, sure.
interpret it right, is it something he said that there is no right or wrong decision?
Yeah. Well, he was trying to guide me in this whole decision-making process. There were a number of things going on at the same time. And I seem to have been stumbling and going left, right, government boots, never. One day is one thing, next day is the other thing. And all of which, based on what he was saying to me, it sounded logical, but didn't have any grounding in truth.
Hmm.
Because in his mind, he started to think, well, Mary, maybe you're making that because you're studying your mother, you're studying me, you're studying your son, you're studying your money, you're studying other changes that you would have to make and that kind of thing. And I think what he was trying to show me is that, um, but once you make the decision, that
Yeah.
decision is something that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. And the consequences or fallouts, you're going to have to find ways and means to facilitate that because that's where you are now.
What I would say, Maureen, is that in a way, you know, you're correct. Because when we make a decision, we believe it is the right decision. Huh? We would
Correct.
hardly make a decision and go for it if we think it is a bad decision, right? So on one hand, to us at that time, it's a great decision, and it may remain a great decision. Huh? It's only
Yeah.
if things don't work out at the time, then it becomes a bad decision. You understand?
Yeah.
So, but I think on onset, it is a good decision.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to weigh that because it is a bit ticklish. I really don't think at the time when we make decision, we don't know it is wrong. Even the person who may tell us is wrong may turn out to be not right, in that, if I may put it in that sense. So for me, knowing that we are guided by the plans and goals, what I would add to that and what I do in terms of trying to I don't ensure, but yeah, in a way, ensure that the decision I make, I can stand by it, you know, is to look at different aspects of that decision making. Look at, you put some contingencies in it, understand, go a little deeper in understanding why you may be making that decision. Um, if in making that decision, if you would be putting yourself at risk in a certain way, if you would be able to manage that risk when that time comes, what will be the fallouts, etc. So I just think for me in decision making, I look at the different aspects. I look at if it will have a fallout, what is the gain, why am I really doing it? So when I make that decision, I am happy with it. And even if it doesn't work out the way I wanted, whether within the time frame or the end results, that I couldn't accept that, yeah, I tried, I did it, and let me look. And I always look to that, you can't just box in yourself within a decision. You should always look at you may have to do some changes, make some adjustments, etc. So that's my view in terms of that decision making.
Yeah. But one of the areas when you talked about that, Jennifer, is the whole thing about trusting your gut,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of people they overthink, they question, they avoid, they vacillate, and they don't get to the meat of the matter, which is the decision-making process. Let's talk about that a little bit, because that is the root of hiding and um, people really inhibiting and stopping themselves from making informed decisions in this third act, when a lot of the decisions are not dependent on who went, but is solely dependent on where they see themselves as individuals and how they want to chart their course moving forward. So let's talk about that, about why do people question their gut, and why people don't trust their gut, and why people get into things like overthinking and avoiding and questioning something which to them they feel, or they have already resolved that it's exactly where they need to be and what they need to do at this step.
Maureen and Jennifer said something just now that I question. That when people make decisions, it's a good decision, and they are sure it is a good decision. I sometimes wonder if that is true for most people because of what you just said. So many, I am personally seeing so many of our cohort. Life is facing them, and life is saying is B. But because they hope and they wish and they expect or they want, they are vested in something in the past or some relationship, even though life is telling you the situation requires B, they persist with P, not even P, X. P could sound like B, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes that is why I sometimes say, I say a lot that making a decision is not an easy thing, and making a good decision, looking at facts objectively, understanding and being honest about what you really want, even if what you want is to continue to be in service of other people to your own detriment, even if that is what you want. But if you are sure that is what you want, the decision is easy to make. But I don't know, Maureen, if in your practice you see people who make decisions that are based on a hope and an expectation of something that when you look at where their lives are now, there isn't a very high probability that that expectation is going to happen.
Yeah. Lots of people. And that's why I say some people stay stuck in the
Make
environment,
bad decisions.
they make bad decisions because the genesis of the decision in the first place was not grounded in truth or
Yeah.
in facts. The other thing too is that if your gut is saying that something is not right, then it's not right. But some people override that emotion, or some people override those thoughts because they're influenced by other people's thoughts or the fear of losing the support of their existing tribe. But what if you never had that tribe at all? Because, for example, I could use an example. There are some people who raise their children in a way that they feel that because they gave their children everything, quote unquote, whatever the everything is, that their children are now obligated to take care of them in this third act. And the children say, no, I didn't read that like that. As a matter of fact, I've heard it many times. I didn't ask to come here. It was your fastness. And you bring me here now, what? No. Figure it out. And for a lot of people who find themselves in that position, what they do instead of figuring it out is they start to lament on, well, I sent it to university twice when you didn't, so I mind your children, they go into the full barrage of, but that it has no relevance or no bearings on figure it out, because moving forward, what is the quality of your life to be? So feeling stuck is a signal that, hey, this energy that you invest in is not being invested in a way that it will fuel your retiring with the YR, as somebody told us in the meetup, not IR, but the YR.
Yeah, get new wheels, new wheels.
Get new wheels, organize yourself, because that is what you're hearing. You're hearing, listen, vroom, vroom, because I'm out of here, right? So vroom, vroom, figure out where you go. You can't just put yourself in my driveway and feel that because your battery not working, that I will find a battery and put it in it and whatever. No, I'll call a wrecker and they will move you onto the street so I can get in and out of my driveway.
So,
right?
Maureen, when would you, okay, so I understand that what you're saying there. Someone who is stuck, wavering, being very indecisive, are not those who would go ahead, who would make a decision to move forward.
Right.
Right? And what I was saying before, if I am anybody who they make a decision, they're moving forward. If the decision, well, if you're stuck, you're stuck. You're there, you're moving forward. So you make a decision to move forward. Even if you go with your gut, your gut may be telling you, hey, so and so may say that, you know, but I am going because I believe this is what is the right thing to do. Now,
Right.
in that person's mind, the right thing to do, they could be guided by passion,
Yeah.
by a lot of other reasons, which may be the wrong reasons, but to
Right.
them, because their decision is, you make a decision, I doing it. Whether you
Right.
find it right or wrong, whether the professional tell me whatever, but as I said, it is the force behind it. It could be the greed, it could be passion, it could be many things. All right. I see that being so different. They're moving forward. The end result may be a negative one, right? But they move forward. And when the result turn out to be negative, then they may admit or may not admit, but they may realize that or face the reality that, you know what, I made a wrong decision. You know, I should have listened to and I should have seen the signs or saw the signs and I chose not to do it. So I think really what we need to look at or understand better, and you mentioned it earlier, is some sort of what is there, and I should have put it as a question, is there a correct method for decision making?
You're asking me that personally, you're asking me as a psychologist. Well, let me tell you something. Each person is a different person. And the
Yeah.
reason for which we do what we do is very alien to anybody else or to any circumstance. So that's why I don't get into the realm when people are chatting with people. You say, well, if I were you, I would do X, Y, Z, because you're not me, right? And all I share with you is what I want you to know, not necessarily my truth. Because we have two personas, a public face and a private persona that we maintain for ourselves. Yeah, because we've been socialized and we've been taught that this is the way that you present. Up to today, in talking to Terry and say, hey, what you see is where you get. I don't have that problem, right? And for me, I kind of like it because that's not the way I was raised. That's not the way I was socialized. But scenarios were determined. So in this on this stage, our thing is about transparency. We have nobody to please again. Yeah, nothing to hide. Yeah, what everybody's. It is evident that the years behind you are far greater than the ones that you have ahead. What are you going to do with what you have ahead? And this is about you and you understanding you and what you want for yourself. Now, you talk about decision making, and when I think of decision making, I don't think that there are any good or bad decisions, right? I look at decision making from the point of view of, and some people would say taking a risk, I would say taking a challenge, because it's energy that has to be invested into propelling you to be able to move off the block that you're on. Mm-hmm. Because staying on the block is also a decision. Let's not quibble about that. That's a fact. Staying on the block and being a target and being a punching bag and being everybody friend and being the best thing since sliced bread. If that's how you chat it for yourself, hey, I will help them to be able to punch and to give you what you want because I want to see you happy, right? But and then it takes us to another realm now, because for a lot of people too, their definition of happiness is something that is alien to anything that I know or you know or may have experienced. But I can't say that they're wrong to feel how they feel, and they're entitled to that feeling. But are they aware of the consequences of holding on to that feeling in this season and on this stage? So, I mean, the whole thing really is about, look, agonizing over a decision is healthy. Yeah, that's a normal human. You have to agonize. Anybody who is impulsive at making decisions. Even the people who are impulsive, organized even though it may appear to us because of where we stand and because of how we evaluate situations to be impulsive, um, that person would have looked at the risk and weighed and measured to the best of their ability. And that's the other thing too. Do you have the tools? Right? Because in a lot of instances, we've spent our lives taking care of everybody else and nurturing everybody else and guiding everybody else and showing them what is the way to go, but they are no longer our roadmap. So all of a sudden, we left with a full road, right? And we are asked to design a map. But we designing a map also in an era when our energy levels are not at the level that they used to be. We have already used out a lot of our resources. And again, that is why we encourage people to get to a place where we say, hey, it ain't over till it's over. Do the strength training. Take care of your body, take care of your mind, get your spirits in a place. That's work, right? That in itself is also a decision that will assist you to make certain other decisions for the quality of your life. So all of these things going on together, they're not going on in isolation. And then you have the influence of the noises of the world saying, well, what are you trying to be? How much of that you want to do? Why you want to do that? How you intend to do that? At this stage of your life, you now decide that you want to do that. And the thing is, if you don't find your voice to advocate for yourself and to not feel that you have to justify or defend or explain or even put yourself in a position where people box you in, that you begin to believe the narrative that they're setting up. All of this is part of the decision making process, but are we willing to do the work? And that's why I asked the question as well. Are you negotiating with your former self and your whole identity to kind of make sure that, yeah, nah, man, forget moving ahead. This thing real good where we are now. And also, your current behaviors. You're saying one thing with your mouth, but your behavior suggests that you're not in alignment with what it is you're saying. And this has nothing to do with anybody else but your good self, right? Because you're writing your eulogy.
Yeah.
You're talking about your legacy. So this is why I feel that this conversation is vital to starting to get people to trigger, to recognize that we have a lot of work still to do. But we have to do this work for us. Nobody else is nobody coming to save you, and nobody have a roadmap, and nobody giving you a plan of action. You have to. This is your thing. You drafting this, right? Clean slate, empty road, full of possibilities. But you are the one who have to decide how you're gonna design this. And if you choose to design nothing and stick with what you know, that's fine too, but you live the consequences of your inertia, right? And that's fine.
One of the things that I believe is makes change, and it's change. Your third
Right.
act will not be your second act because it's just a different pace altogether. And we are social beings, and while we focus on ourselves, we live in a context, and there is reputation, there is status, there is my relationship with other people. And if I use myself as an example, and this is something that I would, it's a question that Jennifer asked me, and I sat and I said, what? No. Anyway, because we may have been very public, we may have been large, the scale would have been large because it's family, it's multiples of people and all kinds of stuff like that. And you may now wish to scale down, scale back, to a unit of 1 or 2 or 3. You may want your unit of core influence, 80% of the influence, to be you and one other, or you and 2 others, or you alone. And you want to behave differently. And I'll give an example of what I'm talking about. Recently, a friend asked me to do a blurb for her to support her company. And because of the work that we do with Connections, I said to Jennifer, look, she's doing this, but I'm just leaving it there, whatever it is. So it came out and I didn't take it on, and I sent it to Jennifer afterwards and said yes. And Jennifer asked me a question. This is awesome, Terry-Ann. Let's put this on our Facebook and Instagram page. And my immediate response was, hell no. It's not meant for that. It's not meant to go there. But I didn't respond to Jennifer immediately. And I think she took my silence to mean yes. So there it went. But something like that is, people will not understand that part of my, not wouldn't understand. They may find it is odd that I want to make less big my public persona, even though we have this platform. So if it's related to this, it will go forward. So I think that is a decision people may look at and say, but Terry-Ann, are you crazy? Why on earth would you want to do that? No, you have this and you have that, so you should carry it forward. And sometimes you may want to drop that or drop this, or I will take forward this stream, but not that and that. And sometimes the social pressure to give less of yourself may cause people to continue doing things that they really don't want to do. Being more public, being more available to others. You may want to, as I was saying before, I have a responsibility for a parent, and I drop the responsibility for the children to a large extent. And I drop in for the parent because I've put things in place for you to be happy, very happy. But still you demand emotional support that I am not really willing to give in the way that you have been accustomed getting it. And you have to say no, but I know that people would look at me and judge me. What is this? She's a beast. But I know my emotional bandwidth at this time, and I will decide. I don't care what external people say. I know what I want for myself, and whether you understand it today or you understand it tomorrow, or whether you don't understand it at all, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I am making decisions for who I want to become, which is a less popular persona. Let me put it that way. So sometimes just the idea of scaling down because it's not socially acceptable may cause people to continue with behaviors and practices that they really at core mightn't want to continue doing. And I think that is part of the difficulty of that phrase, on who you are becoming, because that, first of all, you have to decide what you want to become and then take responsibility for it. So
there are two things that you raised there, Terry-Ann. One, and I'll tell you about both. In my practice, I've seen a lot of helpers die and leave their patients. One. Okay. and that's insightful, and I don't mean that in a negative, but it is very factual. And so that's something that I always caution people about, right? Because I mean, I talk to a lot of people because, of course, I too was responsible for aged parents, and I know the cost. And when some of them, even when I speak to the fact that they they died and they left, and the patient was still thriving. It may not be a physical death either. Some of them have become so exhausted and they've just lost any semblance of who they are, what they are about, and so that they tie themselves to the tasks that they have to do,
Yeah.
rather than empower themselves to continue to live a life and put that in perspective. So that's something too that a lot of people have to think about. When you think that, people may look at you and think that you're selfish, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So the whole issue is you and you understand the narrative. And this narrative could be overextended because we are living longer. So it's something that even persons who are going to be in our spheres in our 80s, 90s, and beyond have to be mindful about. And if we don't want to be part of their narrative with that, for them to use us as an excuse, we have to be clear about how we intend to live our lives and put things in place. And the second thing, too, that you raised, which is also an insightful position, is that a lot of people are not clear about their persona in the stage and in the third act, right? So some people, what you did, some people may label that under charity, but it would still give them the energy and the engine for the recognition that well, I all but are not cool. Oh, you people thought that I was gone. Well, no. Even the next generation is still reaching out to me and asking me for support and assistance. And so your motive for doing a lot of what you do will decide what this means to you moving forward, right? What is your agenda? What is your motive? But more importantly, I find that for people who are not clear about that either, and who say that they're doing charity or support, but in fact are still getting adrenaline and fuel from it, they're retarding their growth and their process, in the process. Because listen, that is just a frame in a whole big album, which you already, that picture, that snapshot, you already have lots of pictures with that. So for you to be going back and flipping the pages back instead of flipping the pages forward and getting new pictures is retardation. It's not growth, right? So people who validate those kinds of things and people who encourage people to, you see, you're still useful, you still, that's not, you have to be very clear about your mission, your agenda, and certainly your reasons for why you do it. And even when people give you that kind of feedback or whatever, it's a question of them and where they are and how they view something, and not necessarily you and where you see yourself. No, you do not have to, and you are under no obligation to explain to anybody why you do what you do, but within yourself, and again, it's your gut and it's a whole decision-making process. You have to be real clear about what your mission is and what your agenda is. So you smile graciously, and that is the benefit of silence in some situations. Because many times you will find that when you open the floor to discussion and you bring in opinions and you ask people to support a narrative or to give some clarity or to, well, why you think and why all
then
of
you
a
get
sudden,
the judgment, and
correct,
judgment makes decisions cloudy. Yep.
it is almost impossible. You just shut up. And that's part of the
And you
process too.
change your decision
And you change
because
your
of
decisions,
somebody's.
correct, because you say, I missed that. You see, that is what it was intended. You see what I mean? Thank you, no, thank you, nothing. Thank you, nothing, right? It just has distracted you from your focus and where you are supposed to be taking yourself and what you are supposed to be doing for you on this stage in this act.
Yep.
Jennifer?
There are people at this stage who really still, they continue, this is what they want, their persona. They really would like to still be recognized for whatever they have done in the past or what they're doing right now. They would like to be recognized for the charitable work that they're doing for lots of reasons. And because of that, they do the things and they are happy receiving that the congratulations and all the pat on the back, etc. And there are those who don't want to. My thing though, and Terry Ann brought up that situation, but we also have to be careful of the message that we send. We may believe we're sending a certain message, but if, as you mentioned, it's not in a line with your actions, then people wouldn't receive the message you want them to receive.
Correct.
And that's how I look at it. So, for instance, and Terry Ann said something, although not wanting to be, nothing wrong with that. Some people say, okay, I've had enough. I just had a conversation with someone I know very well who did, I mean, really great in her profession and everything else, and has wind down and has said to me, I no longer want, I'm not dealing with again. I just want peace and quiet. And that's fine. But on the other hand, in another conversation, that same person telling me, I don't think my family and close friends really appreciated all what I did. You understand? So
Yeah.
that message, on one hand, I got the message and I acknowledged that and I decided in hearing that, hey, I have to be careful. I really, the response from her was as a result of me inviting her to a public event. Let me put it that
Right.
way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's not attending these things again. I don't want to be in the limelight, that sort of thing, which I appreciate. And that was all right with me. You know, I understood that. But by the next conversation, I'm hearing that friends or family don't really appreciate so and so and so. So I got the message that then you really want the appreciation. You don't want to be light again, but somewhere you're wishing still for some sort of recognition. So I'm just saying that in that we have to be careful with the message we send if it is in alignment with how we move or how we see. In Terry Ann's case, Terry Ann always gives give me that impression that, and I believe that especially when we're doing videos or photographs, and I always looking, okay, where we and I taking picture, you know? And her thing is, nah, don't put me in that. So I recognize that being in the front is not her thing. So in a case like that, being in the front is not your thing, but you did it, you help a friend by being in the front. That's how I look at it. And since you have done that, you're in the front anyway. So you're not there. To be there. And if you're there, so what? Because it is something to be recognized. So yeah. And I think on the third stage, we have to recognize, and as you said up front too, Terry Ann said it, no judgment. We have to really recognize that people are different, and we may feel that, oh God, you reached that stage, you had enough, you had a lifetime of recognition, you did it on the second stage, why are you bothering to do it on the third stage? We may not want it for us, but they may want it for them, and you just let people be, you know. So that's about letting go of your old identity or creating a new identity. It's critical, and I feel many people would be very scared. They don't even know what their new identity, how they want to be seen, or the type of life they will want to live now on to that stage.
Right. And I'm saying to the question that you were asking, which is my third question, my other question about your current behaviors being in alignment with your new image, and the examples that both of you raised. Maybe we could have a discussion on the difference between celebration and validation, because both of what you do, everything that, like for example, you, Terrian, um, supporting a friend. Jennifer said, well, you were front and center, but I see that as a celebration of your of who you are and what you are about, as opposed to using that experience to validate your existence in this third act, right? So, and I think that people have to be, I think in a lot of instances, we have not yet made that distinction.
Yep.
So for a lot of people who look at somebody's actions on this stage in the third act, they may think that people are looking for validation, when in fact people are really looking for celebration. They're looking for a tribe that celebrates the fact that, look, we are here and we are still productive. We are willing to make that effort on our own terms, in our own way, with our own styles, unapologetically, without getting anybody's permission and that kind of thing. And that is what I would, those are the types of behaviors, the celebrating behaviors, are ones that I would always say are in alignment with somebody else's new image. Because so for me, where things that I would once have been paid for, I may choose how to volunteer. I may choose not to do them at all because no is an answer. Because I have other things to do and I good with that. And however other people take it, well, that's their business. They will have to kind of figure it out and keep it moving, because my years of people pleasing and ensuring that I'm positioned in the correct way and that the camera gets my right side or my left side. Now the camera can get my backside and I good to go. And so let's have a discussion around that about when we do things now, are we celebrating ourselves and our lives, or are we still searching for validation to remind us or to help us to center and focus on this new stage?
In terms of what I will call validation, I always say at this stage, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, right? So if I say I don't have to prove anything to anybody, that I am not looking for validation. But when you talk about celebration, for me, it's just celebrating life. Celebrating the fact that I am at this stage, I reached this age, and I'm able to just enjoying my life as it is now, and looking forward to just continuing enjoying life as I move through the different stages. So that's how I would look at it for me. So a person celebrating that they love where they are, they love themselves, they like being on the stage, and they're not looking for validation. But in saying that, I'm wondering if some people can do both.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on it.
Yeah. Or whether both even necessary. Because that's just it, for some of us, it's not necessary. But
That's it.
if that floats your boat, then certainly set up your sail, right?
Yeah.
And organize yourself to suit. But and the thing about it is claim it. Because that's another thing. At this stage of your life, listen, there's no justification for anything. Even if it is that it wasn't well thought out, and even if it wasn't your best plan, and even if it wasn't even a plan, it was an impulse, it was a day in the life. It counts as being something that you should enjoy and that you should participate in, and whether you complete is irrelevant as well. because at this stage, since you're on an open stage and the stage is yours to create and for you to decide where you go, you could even broken colors,
Yeah.
color in pencil, still color. So that you give yourself that permission and you don't have, and it's not an excuse and it's not a validation and it's not confirmation that, look, well, I don't fit in anywhere else. So therefore, I try to make sure that I fit in somewhere. It has nothing to do with making yourself small to fit into something. It has to do with the comfort and the ease and the, the willingness to breathe and the willingness to just be whoever you choose to be in the moment. That doesn't have to be you tomorrow. That doesn't have to be with you 5 years down the road, 10 years, because nobody knows. But
Yeah.
right now, in this moment, these are some of the things that validate my existence and makes me understand who I am just for today and how I feel about it, and therefore what stops me from doing it, from being it, from seeing it, from experiencing it, and those are the kinds of questions when you look at your current behaviors and your alignment with where you want to go, you really have to take a deeper look at that. What drives those behaviors? What doesn't drive the behavior? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it you not wanting to take the risk of, as you said, Jennifer, failure? Because to me, every disappointment is an appointment to something greater. So I really don't define life from the perspective of failure, because if that were the case, among the things that we went through, we and knowing, not even knowing what's going to happen, right? But because we went to and we worked at it, we came through. And we're here today to tell the tale, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to listen to that. So we don't wanna share that. That's not gonna be our bestseller. And it really doesn't matter to us. So what that's why I asked the question. Are current behaviors in alignment with the new image? And if so, what adjustments do we have to make, right? Or what adjustments do we choose to make to ensure that what we're saying and what we're doing are in alignment with where we're going,
Yeah.
right?
And I think, Maureen, one of the main, and I'm looking at our time and we have about 5 more minutes. And I would say, as I said, I am very clear about where I'm going. And where I'm going is so detached from where I was that where I was built up and made me who I am. Can't separate
Right.
that because that's the skill that we are coming in. But there is so much about where I was, the pressure, the consistent need to do better, one up, and the pressures of that success. I want no part of it in my life going forward. So there's very little from the past that I want to take forward. The part that I need is already in me. It's built into
Right.
my mind, how I think, the personality, and so on. So there is very little of the trappings of that
Yeah.
that is going forward. And very often I make very, very clear decisions about, is that necessary for me now? No, it's not. Even if it means
Yeah.
somebody has to get to know me all over again, and this base is zero. And I think that is a difficult decision for many people to make. A lot of people prefer to carry, and I have no problem with this because it works for people, to carry a big chunk of who they were into the future with them as security, as a backup plan, as a whatever it is. But in my opinion, it worked really well for me. It brought me and landed me in a place that I really love and I'm comfortable. And I am pretty confident that I could go forward with what I have and with what is in me without going back. And you talk about behaving in alignment with your new self, I think making that distinction is critical. How much of your past do you need for your future?
Yeah.
And it ends the negotiation that has you going back and forth and vacillating between one and the other. You're very clear about where you are and where you're moving forward and what you're taking with you. And I don't take for granted that that's an easy thing to do. I don't at all. It's high risk, but I don't take for granted that it is easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Jen?
No, I listen to Tarian and I'm in agreement. I'm at this stage, Maureen, as I look at stage in life. And at this stage in my life, I am good. I clear. I have passed all the stages of I'm not looking for anything, any reward, any pattern, and nothing. So in terms of reward, in terms of accolades, that's not me. So I'm at a good stage, I would say. I'm happy with the stage I'm at. I'm happy with the stage I'm at. I'm focusing on things that on the things that I want to. So I'm celebrating me.
Yeah, great.
I'm not
Yeah.
depending on anything. I choose the people I want to be around. And I always say I have friends I put in different categories. So I am not going to invite people into my space that are not going to be in alignment with, how I want to be. Basically, that's it.
Yeah.
Great. This was very interesting, Maureen. Very, very interesting. And I think it will go nicely forward into our meetup for next week, where we could really explore this whole issue of whether how far you take the negotiations with your old identity to take yourself forward, and how do you realign your behavior, because it's part of the transition. You're still moving into something else, especially depending on whether you're in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, or in your 80s. Later on you are, the alignment is already done. The earlier you are, you're still
Correct.
sputtering and going on. So there's no perfect answer for anybody. And I really do hope that people found this to be an interesting discussion. We are all three different people, and we look forward to seeing you all at our meetup. Any closing words, Maureen?
Well, as you said, we look forward to seeing people at the meetup. Also, it's my hope that people would ask questions, or as a result of the discussion, that they probably would even bring other perspectives to the table, because it's an ongoing discussion, it's a necessary discussion, and it's one that affects all of us in this theater. So I'm really hoping that, people see this as a non-judgmental space where they can hear their differences of opinions, and we can grow and learn as a result of having heard them and experienced them.
Great, great. So take good care. And for those of you who want to join the meetup, there's a QR code. Just join our WhatsApp group and you'll be on, and we look forward to seeing the regulars. So bye.
Bye.
Hi friends, Connections 50 Plus invites you to join us for Easter Shindig on Easter Monday from 3 to 7 p.m. Dress in your Easter best and be ready for an afternoon of fun, great vibes and friends. Cost is only $280, which includes a welcome drink, delicious eats and lively music. Bring along a cooler with your preferred drinks. For bookings, call Jennifer at 685-8834 or Tarian at 682-9202. We look forward to hearing from you. Bye.
50 Plus Tribe, and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.